brothers and sisters of doctors who have gathered here. I feel very much elevated in your presence today, because not only since I began to work as a doctor, but since my childhood I believed the duty of a doctor very sacred, and whoever is working as a doctor has a sacred mission. And when so many doctors are gathered at a place, it is the wisdom they have with them, and it is the service motive they have with them, and the knowledge they have gained with them, coming here in the form of doctors, but not as persons. That is my idea whenever I see a group of doctors. And I very much thank my host Brahma and Saraswati that they have caused the presence of all of you this evening. And about the science of medicine and the art of healing, which you have learnt and practiced in life, and the tender and kind feelings towards the suffering humanity that you have developed by your acquaintance with the suffering humanity. It automatically purifies you without any spiritual practice. It is enough if you know the sacredness of the work you do. Even in the ancient centuries, among the ancient nations, medicine was never considered as merely a profession, and it was always considered as a sacred mission of the person who is conducting it. And with these fine sentiments, I have your presence as an opportunity to express my experiences and feelings to you. My experiences about the present age of growing consciousness of man. Now that there is a great demand to know the truth of everything, the human mind demanded homeopathy, and therefore homeopathy came into existence, because the human mind was not satisfied with the physical plane of medicine on the physical body, and it could understand something more about a living organism, and hence it demanded something more than the physical medicine upon the physical body. No doubt, even today, the majority of the mankind is receiving physical medicine into the physical body whenever there is some suffering. And since the causes of suffering are not physical, the attempt to cure with physical medicines is gradually becoming more and more ineffective, and as a result, there is the discovery of more and more medicines on the physical plane, and unfortunately, the common humanity is trained by the doctors, trained to use more and more medicines more frequently, and the result is the humanity is growing more and more sick. And the effort of homeopaths and healers is there, but the quantity of effort is not enough, and the number of people who believe in homeopathy is not enough, so that the effort of homeopathy is forming a very, very little fraction when compared with the need of mankind. The first need I feel about the effort of homeopathy is to form an international network of homeopaths, so that every one of us should not feel the existence as a separate individual. Of course, it is good that every one of us should form into an important center, but also a center of learning, a center of teaching, a center of healing. But each center should prevent itself from getting individualized, and each one should stop to think how he is different from others, and should begin to understand what is common with others. And if we have something which is unique with us, we should feel the urge to communicate to the others and make it more enlightened and more popular. Yes. So that all the centers of wisdom form into a network. At first into little groups in each area, and afterwards each group should communicate with another group, so that there is a common mind and common understanding of all homeopaths in every country. And then we would be able to communicate between two groups of two countries. Unless such an effort is made, there is the commercial circle of medical practitioners in the world, yes, who are gradually trying to see that homeopathy is eliminated. You might be conscious of the fact that there is an international effort to eliminate homeopathy now, and every effort is being made to prove that homeopathy is not scientific. So in this age, it is always important and always safe that we should develop a group consciousness and live with a group mind, communicating whatever we have to other doctors and receiving more freely from other doctors. This is my first request. And the second request is to differentiate between the scientific orthodox homeopathy and the individual experiments in homeopathy. The second thing is not at all bad. Everyone can make one's own experiments with homeopathic medicine, but it is always good to tabulate the results and record their experiences in their special way of doing, so that they may be properly communicated to others. At the same time, keeping the orthodox Hahnemannian homeopathy different from what we experiment. And the fundamental principles of orthodox homeopathy are laid down by Hahnemann, and they are distributed to mankind by his first group of disciples. And the fundamentals do not change. If we can increase the scope of homeopathy, we can increase the number of remedies by making experiments with new medicinal substances that are not previously proved, and we can enrich the homeopathic wisdom according to our own capabilities. For example, the use of a single remedy in chronic and acute diseases and not using more than one remedy at a time is one of the principles of Hahnemann and his disciples, because they have given a particular stress upon the totality of symptoms which are known by the psychological setup of the patient, by recording the abnormalities of the behavior of each patient, the logic of the patient and the way in which he makes his conversation and his way of walking, talking, smiling, and how he is inclined to sleep or awaken, and is his sleep comfortable to him or not, Is his sleep continuous or not? Or is it disturbed by some unhappy dreams? And is he refreshed after his sleep or not? All these things we are expected to question and record, along with the reactions of the patient when we are questioning him. For example, is he impatient with us when we are questioning many things? Or is he irritated? Or is he oversensitive? Or is he afraid of reporting certain things? Or is he indifferent in answers? Or is he inclined to misrepresent? Or is he inclined to bluff? All these things should be recorded by the doctor. Whenever the doctor is in the presence of a chronic disease patient, because the more frequently a patient is attacked with many acute illnesses, the more the doctor is to understand the existence of a chronic disease in him. Because you know that the really healthy person will not be repeatedly attacked by acute diseases. We understand that he is having a disease in the form of the undercurrent, which is working as susceptibility to the many diseases, and the patient is responding to every disturbance around him. The very fact that the patient is wrongly responding to his environment, for example to the presence of persons and company, the changes of climate and the exposures to heat and cold whenever he goes out, or little changes in his routine of food and sleep, all these reactions towards environment indicate that the patient is having an undercurrent long-standing disease disposition. And according to the philosophy of homeopathy, we understand that the acute conditions he is suffering from are not the true diseases that are to be cured in him. And whenever we cure him of his acute disease, we are expected to remember that it is only a temporary adjustment we are making in his constitution, while at the same time he requires a permanent cure, which has nothing to do with the many disturbances he is showing. This is the one point we are expected to remember. So, whenever he is having an acute disease, we make a record of his symptoms in acute disease, make a totality of the symptoms in the acute disease, along with the temporary abnormalities in his behavior, along with the mental symptoms which are temporary he is showing in his acute illness. We may select a remedy that is quite similar to his acute condition, and we can easily cure him with that single remedy with a few doses, as minimum a number of doses as possible, with a little increasing in dilution and potency. Then very easily there will be the end of the acute disease, at the end of which the patient may appear healthy, but still he requires a true remedy which has a similarity to his long-standing abnormalities. So, whenever a new patient of chronic disease comes to us with an acute disease, we may try for a long time to gather the history of the patient, but however carefully we may try, the patient is inclined to report to you only the immediate sufferings, and we can select a remedy only that is similar to what we understand at present. And then if for the second time the patient comes when he is attacked with a second acute disease, then only we will be able to understand a little bit more about his chronic condition. We can better understand his chronic condition this time, not only because he reports some more symptoms, but also because he is acquainted with us and he has developed in placing his confidence upon us. Only if the doctor believes that you are his friend or brother, then the doctor can make the patient express himself better. So he should have a contact with the patient, not as a patient, but also as a friend and a follower. Then only we can make a beginning to make a real cure in him. And after 2 or 3 occasions of acute cures done to the same patient, we will be able to gather the whole history of that patient. Because many times patients are indifferent to report the past history. They believe that it is not important, and only in conversations you can gather some information. Then you will come to the next stage of curing the patient by selecting a remedy which is similar to both the situations. That is, the acute condition and his chronic condition also may show only a single remedy. If we are lucky enough to find out such a remedy for the patient,